Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course DLC recently dropped, and with it came 7 returning courses, along with one entirely new course, Yoshi's Island. Wave 4 also added Birdo as a playable racer. You know, Birdo.
This is as far as you go!
What Nintendo didn't officially pinpoint is that 5 locked slots have been opened up underneath Birdo, heavily implying that 5 additional DLC racers will be coming in future updates. Hi, I'm Frank, and in today's Frank's 5, we'll be discussing 5 characters I think would make an exceptional addition to Mario Kart 8's Booster Course DLC. For this list, I wanted to have some fun, so I'm not going to be picking generic characters like Wiggler or Queen Bee. Wiggler. Who thought this was a good idea? These picks have substance, while also not being the most obvious. These are my picks, so let me know who you'd have picked in the doobly-doo.
Number 5!
The original Super Mario Kart set the foundation work for what would become the most successful kart racing franchise. It wasn't perfect, but it was a revolution for its time. One oddity that always stood out to me though was Donkey Kong Jr.'s inclusion instead of Donkey Kong himself. Despite only starring in one game, 3 if you want to count the Game & Watch adaptation in Donkey Kong Jr. Math, this prepubescent primate made quite a few appearances throughout the 90s and 2000s, like as a playable character in Mario's Tennis for the Virtual Boy and Mario Tennis for the Nintendo 64. He was even the star of his own segment in the 1980s cartoon, Saturday Supercade, where he's voiced by Fred Welker. Donkey Kong Jr.'s career had all but dried up until 2020, when he appeared as an unlockable character in Mario Kart Tour, in which he rocks his retro design. I think it's officially time for Jr. to get out of retirement and return in a completely new 3D modern design. If we can get Donkey Kong Jr., and then we count Dry Bones as the dead form of the original Koopa Troopa from Super Mario Kart, we can pretty much consider the whole roster from the first game covered. Now I get that using that logic also means we already have Donkey Kong Jr., since he is in fact the modern day Donkey Kong. But if Baby Mario and Mario can exist at the same time, so can Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Please just don't give us that fugly baby Donkey Kong from Yoshi's Island 2. As for a stage, I'd really like to see something that implements the Donkey Kong Jr., and Mario Bros. Arcade cabinets. Have pieces of each game mesh into the course, complete with retro sprites, sound effects, and music. A great example of what I'm trying to convey would be essentially what was done in the Namco circuit in Mario Kart Arcade GP-DX. Just consider it a throwback to Nintendo's arcade years.
Number 4!
When Mario Kart 64 was in early development, its working title was Super Mario Kart R. This pre-release version featured many differences from the final release, with the biggest being Donkey Kong's exclusion. In his place stands Kamek Magic Koopa, the very same Kamek who kidnapped baby Luigi all those years ago in Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo. An unused Kamek emblem was also found within Mario Kart 8's data, suggesting that he was once considered but later cut once again. He did finally appear in a Mario Kart in the form of an unlockable driver in Mario Kart Tour in 2021. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Great, another Koopa! And while this is technically true, I think Kamek deserves the slot since he is one of the first enemies Mario encounters in his life, back in the Yoshi's Island days as a baby. Plus, with the new Yoshi's Island stage, and Baby Mario and Yoshi already being in the roster, it's like a little Yoshi's Island reunion. Wait, reuniting a kidnapper with their victim? That seems a bit morbid. There's honestly no better time than now to include Kamek in a true-to-form Mario Kart. His stage could be an all-new Ghost House theme, or maybe even another form of Bowser's Castle. Hell, for extra meta, they could even take the unreleased Mario Kart 64 course, Town, and remix it to be themed with Kamek. Boom! Mario Kart 64 DLC, 27 years later.
Number 3!
Back when the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8 got its initial DLC, Animal Crossing and Zelda both received not only a stage, but also characters. F-Zero and Excitebike also received some representation in the form of racetracks, but no characters to coincide with the stages. When Mario Kart 8 Deluxe dropped on the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo added Inklings as racers and a Splatoon-themed battle arena. While the next Mario Kart is almost definitely going to have more emphasis on other franchise crossovers, I think we might still see more of that hinted at in this DLC. Someone who should have been included from the get-go, considering Mario Kart essentially killed his franchise, is none other than Captain Falcon. As much as I'd like to see Nintendo tackle another F-Zero, the notion of that becoming a reality seems less and less likely as the years go on. I think the next best thing they can do is include the poor guy in Mario Kart. I mean, racing is sort of his thing, and it's pretty evident he was created to somewhat parody Speed Racer. If it wasn't for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise including him in all 6 games, I feel like most people would have long forgotten about Harvey Birdman. I think think at the very least this guy deserves to show us his moves one final time. Now I know we already have 2 F-Zero stages, but you know what? I'd be down for 1 or 2 more, maybe Casino Palace from 2003's F-Zero GX. Especially with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's 200cc mode, this is likely as close to a new F-Zero as we're going to get from an official Nintendo capacity. We might as well use this DLC pack to send off the fallen franchise of F-Zero.
Number 2.
Rivaling games in the kart racer genre typically don't hold up well when compared to Mario Kart. Most of them end up cheap imitations, however some of them come really close and in many ways improve upon the Mario Kart formula. The one I still hold near and dear to my heart is Diddy Kong Racing. Rare's 1997 N64 kart racer released a mere 10 months after Mario Kart 64, yet somehow managed to expand upon it, adding in additional hovercraft and airplane sections. Diddy Kong would go on to star in a Nintendo DS remake, Diddy Kong Racing DS, as well as make appearances as a playable character in Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart Tour. I don't know how we live in a world where Pink Gold Peach makes the cut for Mario Kart 8, but Diddy Kong doesn't. That's 8! Diddy should return along with a stage from Diddy Kong Racing. Better yet, that stage should be a remixed amalgamation of multiple Diddy Kong Racing tracks, implementing elements of the plane and hovercraft section using Mario Kart 8's underwater and gliding abilities. Let's be honest, Rare's likely never going to make another kart racer, and even if they did, they're owned by Microsoft, so Diddy being included as DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe might be his last chance to get behind the wheel.
Number 1.
The Mario Kart Arcade GP series has always been an oddity. While not officially considered a Mario Kart by Nintendo, evident in Mario Kart 8 being named as such, these arcade exclusive games weren't actually developed by Nintendo, but rather Bandai Namco. Being that Namco took the reins in the arcade adaptations, all of these games feature additional Namco-owned characters as playable racers. For years, there's been a game in which you can race against Mario characters as a Tamagotchi. Who'da thunk? Since Namco worked directly with Nintendo on Mario Kart 8 to begin with, and since Pac-Man isn't a stranger to the racing genre, I see no reason why Pac-Man shouldn't return as one of the final 5 racers. I think Pac-Man's Smash Bros. Iteration would be a perfect fit, but I could also see Namco sticking with the more recent 3D model found in last year's Pac-Man World Repack. There's a lot of options for Pac-Man's accompanying track, like one of the many stages from one of Pac-Man's own kart racing ventures, or even Pac-Man Stadium from Mario Kart Arcade GP DX, which features a stadium decked out with loads of Pac-Man references. If they wanted to create an all-new course, maybe one that takes place in the village Pac-Man 2 is set in, like Pac Mountain in Mario Kart Arcade GP. The Mario Kart 8 engine is actually really neat and able to pull off some visually impressive effects that would lend themselves nicely to a Pac-Man themed course. Hey, thanks for watching. These were my picks for 5 characters I think actually have a chance at filling those slots. I think you'll really like this other video where I talk about some of the weirdest Mario games, so go ahead and check that out. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to the channel for future content. Till next time, peace.